Thank you, Mr. Sherlock. Our final speaker, Vin Lanana, I believe, is here to speak on item G on the administration agenda. So that is the conclusion of the signed-up speakers. Commissioner's response. Commissioners? Commissioner Lycan.
So a couple things. First of all, I want to thank folks for coming out and speaking. On the issue that Mr. Sherlock just brought up, I know we didn't have adjustments to the agenda, but real quickly, I'm assuming this is item 5, is it D1, Mike? I'm just looking out there, just, you can head nod. Pardon me? Yeah, is it 5D1, or I think it's...
It is.
I think it's 5D1 on the consent calendar. Oh, okay, all right. Ms. Hayes, is that?
I believe it is.
Okay. All right.
Do you want to come and verify that?
I think the approved, because the staff approval's in this, and I just wanted to, because Mr. Sherlock came in and spoke, and I believe we have that, and it's just under the consent calendar item, but I just wanted to verify. Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you very much. A couple other things. I think to Mr. Mike, when he came up and spoke, there was a there was an issue that came up in 1998 called the Springfield School District versus the Register Guard, and that was used significantly during this issue with the report. I know you can find a copy of it. I live in Springfield. I remember that issue because I brought it up to our legal counsel I don't know how many times. Make sure you have this, because that's the precedent that's been set. So that we use verification on that, just your information. And lastly, I just would like to say this, and I think later, again, I think what I'll do is, under Commissioner's business, just report back to the board about my trip back to D.C., which was quite an adventure getting home. Wow. Anyway, supposed to be back Friday evening, didn't get back till 9, and I was praying I was going to get back Saturday night at 9 o'clock. So so I'll give just a report on my assessment, testifying before the Energy and Natural Resources Committee on the ONC proposal by Senator Wyden, and also the testimony that came from Congressman DeFazio in that same hearing. So it was overall it was very positive. I've been back to Washington, D.C. now a couple times in the last couple weeks. Honestly, when I've gone back in the past, it's clearly been do my work and leave. And this time was actually the first time I actually spent a little time seeing the sites. On the NDAA, you know, I looked at this, and you know, I'm probably one of those. I probably looked at this really from a perspective of this is a federal issue. When the Patriot Act first came up, and I know that we were asked to do a resolution in the city of Springfield as mayor, I said no, this is a federal issue. One of the museums I chose to go through, and a lot of it's because my own personal heritage, was a Holocaust museum. And the reason why I bring this up, because you know what happened? Folks turned a blind eye and didn't do anything. And people even in Western Europe had no idea what was going on in Germany. And so I will tell you that that experience probably changed my perspective on what you're bringing back to us 180 degrees. And because I think you're exactly right. If things would have happened more at a local level, it would have transformed up to higher up into more of the national level in what that perspective. Well, I know I'll save my comments as we go through the work session. I'll leave it up to Chair Farr on whether he will allow folks from NDAA to sit in on the work session. I know from my experience that's really not what occurs, because it's really an opportunity for the staff to go back and forth with the commissioners. But the chair does have the ability to set the tone, and I am not the chair. So, but so I really want to say thank you very much for bringing this back up. I think it's very important, and like I said, my grandfather was a Ukrainian Jew. His family escaped. Joe Lawrence knows my family extremely well down in Roseburg, and his family, before he was actually born in the United States, they escaped the Russian Revolution in 1905. The last name Lycan is inscribed on Ellis Island. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lycan. Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank everyone for coming out and speaking today. I greatly appreciate the comments on all the topics. Mount Pisgah, Mr. Orsinger, and Mr. Evanook, thank you for your very thoughtful comments and continual remindance of we do have a master plan that doesn't appear to be being followed. So hopefully this afternoon we'll be able to give some direction that supports your views. Second, we're going to have a work session on the NDAA, and I do support us having a public hearing on this. I've supported it when it was brought up. I believe Commissioner Sorensen felt that was a positive way to go on the work session today. Hopefully we'll lay the groundwork to what we'd have a public hearing about. So hopefully we can get there. And lastly, I would like to speak to a myriad of people. I don't know in my lifetime if I've seen some of the damage that we've experienced this last few days as far as weather conditions, but I want to say a heartfelt thankful to our public works employees for their nonstop work. Also our sheriff's department. I learned yesterday that our sheriff's department was called out to actually deliver people to the hospital because we didn't have enough ambulance service to take care of it. So I appreciate them getting out and getting folks to the care that they need. Also, I want to thank our utility folks. I was thankfully only out of power for 32 hours. I know there's people today that are still out of power, and I guess until you don't have it, you don't realize how important it is in your life today that we rely on. So thank you to that. And also the untold citizens that actually stopped and pulled limbs out of the way for people's safety, took it upon themselves to cut trees out of the way so people could maneuver. So hopefully people are understanding of the level of devastation that we've experienced and take the time to realize that it's not going to get cleaned up overnight, and let's be patient and thankful for what we do have. So thank you for allowing me to make those comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Stewart. Further response? Commissioner Sorensen.
Thanks very much to everyone who came out today to provide public comment to the Board of Commissioners. I'm going to spend my time responding to the concerns raised about the National Defense Authorization Act, since most of you came for that purpose, and it's not meant to demean the other important topics that we are going to be addressing. Let me just say, first of all, that just because someone is in a different role in our system of government doesn't mean that they have sort of limited their responsibilities to uphold our U.S. Constitution. All of the people in elective office take an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution. So it's not only judges that uphold the Constitution, it's all elected officials take an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution, at least in our country. And so when we have a law like the National Defense Authorization Act that has a real basic purpose, okay, for all of you that have heard this crowd is against the National Defense Authorization Act, that's not really true, because the National Defense Authorization Act is what funds our armed forces. So we're actually not against the National Defense Authorization Act. There are provisions in the law that's been passed by Congress, signed by the President, that have the unfortunate effect of allowing the military, the federal military, to incarcerate people in the United States, and they have no opportunity for any redress, no trial. They can be held indefinitely. And we know that that since a majority of the House and Senate passed the bill, since the President signed the bill, that laws that get passed in that fashion are presumed to be constitutional. But we have a method to test the constitutionality of laws, and that method is to go to a federal court and have a judge rule on it. And that's what's happened in this case, that a federal judge has ruled that the law is unconstitutional. So we shouldn't turn a blind eye to request by the public to try to speak out on this. Now, we're fortunate in Oregon in that most of our members of Congress from Oregon and our 2 senators have voted against this, and they've been pretty forceful about it. And so in some ways, we're preaching to our 1%. Oregon's about 1% of the national political scene. We're kind of preaching to the choir on our 1%. But I do think that more local governments that take this up, whether they're cities or counties, will have an opportunity to be noticed, and more people will see that the opposition to this kind of provision that's in Section 1021 and 1022 of the law, that we're speaking out against it. So I'm glad we're moving through this process. I know it takes a long time. I think that the board did get my letter that I wrote last spring, that I worked with various groups on to bring this more to the attention of the community. And I'm glad we're going to have the work session. I'm totally in favor of having more extensive work by the board on this so that we can get a really robust, vibrant, and informed resolution opposing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sorensen, for the response. I'd just like to add, I'd like to echo Commissioner Stewart's thanks to Public Works Department and to the Sheriff's Department for the extraordinary effort that they placed over the weekend, and not just this snow event, but the previous snow event. It's when we come to realize